So, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Turn 5 podcast, where this week we'll be discussing the second sprint weekend of 2022 from the Austrian Grand Prix. Now, Chris made a blunder last week and said that there was no F2 and F3 on this week. Genius. So instead of trying to do all of Silverstone's support races and all of Austria's support races, because there isn't a race on this weekend, we're going to push all of that into next week's episode. So we'll do a roundup of support series action and our France predictions as well, just so we've got that clear and nobody's going, but where's the talk about Richard Verschoor getting disqualified? That'll come next week. But for this week, we've got track limits action. Now, Nia, you said you've only seen the highlights. Did you see any of the practice sessions? No, bother, no. Unbelievable, Jeff.
I did watch qualifying. I did see FP1.
Okay.
I had nothing to do on Friday.
Okay. So give us your brief review of the weekend as a whole.
All of you to assume I remember anything. Stewards did their job finally.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I really remember.
Ben?
The track limits was on, is it very hard they have it on?
Strict, yeah.
Strict, yeah. It was on strict.
I mean, that's as it should be, really, isn't it? We'll obviously talk about it somewhat more in depth in a minute, but for me, it was a Ferrari strategists actually got it right. Sadly, the engine didn't. So, I mean, because let's deal with it. There's sort of one of the big talking points is Ferrari's mechanical woes again reared their head. This time in the form of Carlos Sainz's engine going bang in a big way. Yeah,
I saw videos about that.
Yeah, that engine's gone. I wouldn't be surprised if most of it's gone, like the whole turbo ICE, MG UK and H. I wouldn't be surprised if all of it's just written off, not only just from the bang, but from the subsequent fire.
There was 2 explosions. They went bang twice.
Yeah. So
it's probably very good.
At the very least, the side pod is completely ruined because that actually just completely ripped away and came back to itself. So there's a massive hole in that. Not ideal, as Perez found out, with Ted describing it as the size of a demi baguette. Classic Ted.
As you did.
But yeah, I mean, if you looked at their pace, Carlos was on track to catch Max at least.
Wasn't he like third when when it happened?
Yeah, he's right behind Max as well.
So he probably would have finished second. Which means that the Ferrari strategists actually got it right for once.
Seems like in Austria, people were actually doing their job.
Just not the mechanics
Not the mechanics.
What wouldn't surprise me, what would like completely round out the whole Ferrari clown meme is if it's something so simple as a mechanic forgot to fill something with oil or forgot to open a valve so that it could actually flow, or something dumb like that. Something so mundane that it's just, you don't think about it, but it's caused the entire engine to annihilate itself. I'm sure Ferrari are doing their debrief diagnostic. It's an autopsy at this point, let's face it. That car, I mean, depending on how it went bang, that chassis is probably gone as well, which is not ideal.
It was a
Um,
roasted Ferrari. It's probably gone.
yeah, it was the wrong shade of red. So in the cost cap, and everyone talking about how crashes can affect it. I mean, let's look at that. That's a expensive bill as a crash, isn't it? So it might not have the same. Oh my God, Guan Yu Zhou's upside down and behind a barrier, and his car's a complete like shambles because all the wheels aren't attached. But at the same time, it's probably done just as much damage to the inside of that car as anything else. Guan Yu Zhou might be able to recover a couple of bits of his engine from that car. I don't think Carlos is going to be able to. So,
Joe could probably recover more from his car than Carlos could
yeah.
from his car.
So, yeah, it's going to be an expensive one. I have no doubt on that. Whether Ferrari actually tell us how much they think it's going to cost is another matter. With the week off, we're going to have. I mean, I suppose that gives them a bit more time to sort of look at it and go, "Oh, that's actually quite expensive." But it's not like we're going straight to another venue and then we're sort of straight into the press section of. So, how much was it? I mean, I'm sure they'll probably ask it anyway next time around in France, but
no doubt.
Because what was it? The FIA had one of their meetings at Austria, like the second meeting of the year of a certain board, and that allowed for a 3.1% increase in the cost cap to allow for inflation, which was agreed by 9 out of the 10 teams, which I find interesting. I kind of want to know who that one that didn't want it was. But given the way that the economy is with inflation at the minute, I think that's probably a sensible move. How have I managed to go from Carlos's engine exploding to the economy?
Money.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, yeah, it does make the world go round. So back on my Ferrari train of strategies, got it right. What happened to Red Bull? That's sort of the flip side of it. Max looked so dominant in, quali was very close, but in the sprint race, he just walked off with it. I know the Ferraris were fighting with each other a bit, but still, he walked off and had a comfortable enough gap that he could react to whatever Leclerc did. Yet in the race, they just didn't seem to have the pace.
Yeah, it's a Ferrari master plan. They can have the extra point in there.
Lull them into a false sense of security. Yeah.
And then on the Sunday, they turn up. Like they said, it was with the track temp or something like that because it was colder on the Sunday than it was on the Saturday. So
I think it was something to do with, I think someone said tire pressures or something. They just got it wrong. Because obviously what tire pressure you use is dependent on track conditions. But I guess Red Bull royally screwed it up.
Speaking of tires, I can't remember where I heard this, but I think Aston Martin only use tires in the race, like, use up their tires in completely like all the practices, and then just use used tires for the rest of it. Which Pirelli said that's a bad idea because like it messes with the tire pressures and stuff, doesn't it? Like
it's more you have to set the tire pressures before. So you have like deadlines to set your tire pressures. You say, okay, we're going to run this tire pressure. It's not like you can go halfway through a race and just suddenly go out the back and sort of either bleed off a bit of tire pressure or pump it up a bit more. It's once it's done, it's done. That's your tire pressure you're running, sort of thing. Which is, I think, why Max still had the same issue throughout the whole of the race. I think if you were allowed to change your tire pressures mid-race, then maybe we would have seen a different story of the Red Bull mechanics and strategists realizing, hang on a minute, we've got this quite wrong, changing the tire pressures on the next set, bringing them in, putting the right pressure tires on and sending them out to be quicker again. but as it was, we don't have that. But in terms of them using the old sets, that's interesting. As far as I'm concerned, that's fine as long as they've handed back 2 used sets.
I can't remember. I know I saw it on Twitter, and I know it was from like a reliable source. I can't remember for the life of me where I heard it, but they only do it for like quali and sprint, and the full race they only use used tires, which Pirelli said was fine, but it's a bad idea. But I can't remember why.
Probably tire life more than anything. Yeah. Because Pirelli will Pirelli assure the teams of a certain length of life on the tires, but if they go through, I mean, if you're using them and then leaving them in the tire blankets, you know, you're putting them through heat cycles, and that changes things. And maybe they've changed the pressure in it between. I don't know what the rules are on that, but you know, it probably messes with sort of. It's probably one of those things that quote unquote voids the warranty of the tire. But still, kind of interesting that they only used tires. I mean, I guess they're still trying to figure out why their car is so bad. Because the qualifying pace just isn't there. I mean, that's the last 3 races. Both of their drivers have been knocked out in Q1. Not good. Yeah. And I mean, Seb started 20th in the sprint because his fastest time got deleted for track limits. How's that for a segue? Track limits, everybody. Wait.
Track extend.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus Ericsson put out a tweet that's like, oh, just design tracks that you don't gain by going wide. Well, that's easier said than done, isn't it? So, like, designing the perfect track is impossible, in my opinion.
Well,
you're always going to have
Monaco's not far from perfect.
Don't ever say that again. Don't even joke about Monaco being good. We all know it's a pile of do. It's just not the one. Then again, okay, so we know that everyone hates Monaco. Would you reckon the second most hated track would be Yas Marina?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only Mercedes fans like Yas Marina.
Paul Card.
Yeah, but it actually had a good race last year.
Last week.
Saudi Arabia, I just don't like.
It's more on the outside world of it, but
I mean, I don't like the circuit, and I don't like the outside world.
Yeah,
I don't like the circuit because I suck at it on the game.
And it's an absolute death trap.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel nervous just like watching people go around Jeddah and like
trying it on the game's not much more fun. I won't lie. You go through a left, right, left, and it's like, is there a wall? What's the next corner? There's too many. Thanks, Herman Tilke. He designed it, didn't he? Tilke sounds about right. It's his trademark. Beep, beep, beep. So, which is annoying because, you know, he designed some actually good circuits like Malaysia. I've run out of examples, but, you know.
Malaysia again.
Yep. Malaysia and Malaysia.
Malaysia the next year.
And wait, did he do Istanbul Park? I don't want to credit him with Turn 8 if I don't have to, but Turn 8 is good. Quick Google. It was designed by Tilke. I'm a genius. So yes, Turkey, I will add to the list of good tracks that Herman Tilke has designed. So my list is Malaysia and Turkey. He did China. China's all right, isn't it? I mean, we just haven't been there in a while.
Well, 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did design Yas Marina as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He has some good ones, but he also has some bad ones. But do you reckon we'll go back to the Shanghai Autodrome now that we have Zhou Guanyu?
Yeah, definitely.
Possibly, yeah.
So
how long is Zhou's contract there for?
It's just this year currently. It was sort of a let's see how you do, but I think he's warranted an extension.
Yeah.
I mean, he outqualified Valtteri 3 races in a row. Might not have done so this time, but
well, actually, he probably did because Valtteri had start from pit lane. So
yeah, that was just all his engine penalties, though. So
yeah, we're still in front.
He wasn't in front at the end of the sprint, which is technically the qualifying order. So
yeah, he just needs to get his confidence back.
Yeah, I think he's fine. It's just, once you've rebuilt a car, it's probably not quite the same as it was, is it?
No.
So he'll get there, though. I don't have any doubt about that. He's proven he's got good race pace, good quality pace. And he was one of the cars in that 5-car scrap that was broadcast, wasn't it? That was
it's the one who
mental.
Started at the front,
ended up at the back. DRS problems. No, that was nuts. When it just cut to that, I was like, what?
But there was both Hasses, Lando, Alonso, and Zhou.
Yeah. Just nuts. So great fight though. Loved it. Speaking of both Hasses, great weekend for them. They've now moved up to 7th in the Constructors' Championship.
Who's below them now?
Aston Martin, Williams, Alfa Romeo?
AlphaTauri.
Yeah. One of the other Alpha.
7 points in front.
Yeah, they had a good haul this weekend. Kevin picked up 4 points in the race. Well, what?
Wasn't Kevin like P8?
In the race, yeah, Kevin was P8 in the race and P7 in the sprint. So he picked up 2 points in the sprint and then picked up a further 4 points in the race. And then Mig
Schumacher.
Mig Schumacher. That's Mick and Big. He's Mig now. Mick Schumacher picked up 8 points in the race for his career best finish of P6 and a driver of the day to boot. What a show.
Yeah.
I mean, who else would you have picked if you'd have picked anyone else?
Maybe Bottas, probably Leclerc.
I'd be more inclined to agree with you on Bottas. I think Alonso is probably worth a shout as well because he was last car on the grid and he got a point. So, I mean, that's a good drive, isn't it? And then Bottas has gone from pit lane to 11th.
Yeah, and nearly 10th if Alonso didn't get him on like the second to last lap or last lap.
George Russell can tell him how to deal with that.
Yeah.
That was Austria as well, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. I think sort of those 3 drives were the best. Obviously now my statistic of Charles has never won a race that he hasn't started on pole is gone, which is probably a good thing, to be honest. Not a good day for the second drivers, quote unquote, of the top 2 teams either, with Perez DNFing and Carlos DNFing.
How did Perez DNF?
He just retired because of the damage in his car from getting hit by George, which we will discuss in a moment. But I mean, where are we at now? So Max now has a 57-point advantage over Sergio, and Charles has a 37-point advantage over Carlos. Is now the time we start seeing team orders dished out?
Probably.
Yeah.
I would say for Ferrari, yeah. Because there's
Max,
a 38-point gap or something like that.
Max is now 38 points ahead. So he only lost, what, 5 points to Leclerc this weekend because Max won the sprint?
But it's 6. Oh, no, fastest lap. So, yeah, 5. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not a terrible weekend, is it? When you can't come first.
You're still well over a race winning front. So
yeah, exactly. So, but then again, both the teams have had issues with their reliability and.
Yeah, it's a look over the shoulder. You know he's there.
It's a look over the shoulder.
Enough of the gaps for now.
It's a look over the shoulder, but are you looking at the car behind you or are you looking at your engine?
A mix of both.
Are you looking at your exhaust to see if smoke's coming out of the back? Oh, man. When Carlos pulled off to the side and the car just kept rolling, I was thinking he's going to have a really toasty ass at the end of this.
I was thinking the car's just going to roll back onto the track.
It's just a flaming fireball, just takes out Max.
That was like final destination.
I mean,
it was a 10-car pile up and see Guan Yu Zhou start rolling over again.
Oh, God. But on a circuit like Austria, where the elevation changes are so pronounced, I'm surprised the availability of wedges or chocks or whatever you want to call it was so sparse. Surely you think, we've got a hill here. Maybe the car's going to roll. Maybe we should have something to prevent that.
Just a little plank of wood.
That's all it needs. It doesn't really need all that much. It's not exactly a high-tech, expensive solution, is it? It's just a triangle of wood from your local Ridgeons or whatever, or Wicks or whatever the Austrian equivalent is. Vix.
They should get what Jeremy Clarkson done and just whack like the massive plank of wood behind the car. Just make it smash like the DRS.
Yeah. Sometimes my genius is frightening. Yeah, okay, so let's go back to turn 1 and turn 1, lap 1 and turn 4. Now, I don't know about you, but I got some big deja vu with a Mercedes on the inside and a Red Bull spinning in the gravel. And I was watching with my dad, and I turned to him and said, that's a 5-second penalty. And he went, why? And I went, because that's exactly what Albon had done to him by Hamilton. And he went, fair enough then, precedent. So I'm just surprised it took so long for that to go through, to be honest. Like, it is almost a carbon copy of the Hamilton Albon incident. You don't get a much easier decision than, hey, look, this happened. Hey, look, it's happened again. Let's see what we did last time. Copy, paste, done. You know?
I reckon they were just comparing them, being like, is it the same? Is it? Are you sure?
Is he 3 millimeters further right?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, when it happened, it was kind of obvious it was going to happen. And then later on in the race, when Gasly did it to Vettel again, it was kind of obvious it was going to happen. But it kind of raised a question to me, you know, like I know penalties aren't supposed to be dished out due to the aftermath of the event, as is stated in the rules. It's like it's not to do with the outcome, but at the same time I feel like a penalty should be proportionate to the amount of pain you've caused the other person. Because even if you just send a driver spinning, chances are they've probably lost more than 5 seconds anyway, so your 5-second penalty is a lesser punishment than what you did to the other driver. But in the case of what happened to Albon and what happened to Perez, they lost a damn sight more than 5 seconds. So, you know, the question was posed to me of, well, what would you do instead? And I just instantly went, well, just a drive-through. It's a similar sort of amount of time lost. It's not the most severe punishment you can be given. It's not a stop and go. But it's still sort of representative in a way.
Yeah,
I know.
It's the same amount of time, roughly.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's not.
On average, like people who spin out on gravel, it's usually the same amount of time, but it's not too damaging to the person giving the penalty.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I know it's a really tricky one, because you don't want to, like, okay, you spin someone off on Paul Ricard, maybe a drive-through isn't right there because they're not going to lose 20 seconds because they're not in gravel. So yeah, it's a difficult one.
But Paul Ricard, they won't even get a 5-second penalty.
Well, we might get some track limits fun at turn 7 or whatever it is. Let's see how it goes next time out with track. But like, I know it's probably been sort of made to look worse than it is because Perez has lost so much because it happened on lap 1, and therefore the field is bunched together and you've lost a lot more places than you otherwise would have. Like, had that happened on lap 50 something, Perez and, okay, George probably wouldn't be that far ahead, but you know, that group of cars at the top is generally, we saw it this weekend, the front few were like 37 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. And I mean, in that case, you're not even going to lose a position, realistically. If you recovered in the same time frame that Perez did, you'd come out a lot closer to the car behind, sure. And then you'd have to deal with all the gravel and dirt on your tires and whatever. But you probably still wouldn't lose that position. It's more so, but you still lost a ton of time. It's one of those things, but it's in that dangerous territory of it's because of the outcome you've been given this. So yeah, I don't know. I just think it's something that needs to be looked at, because I feel that 5-second penalty did absolutely nothing to George.
Yeah, but then with the outcome side of it, you could see some dirty tactics in which a driver gets lightly tapped and whatever, and there could be a championship battle on, and that driver just drives straight into the barrier. He's suddenly out the race due to the contact.
Now, see, they'd 100% look at that sort of thing, though. But like, what I'm sort of saying is that at the minute you could take it the dirty route, and George could have wiped out Perez and gone, Lewis did it. Lewis got 5 seconds. I'll take 5 seconds. That's going to cost him a damn sight more than 5 seconds. But if you gave them a drive-through, they'd think twice about doing it in a dirty fashion, because it is that much more damaging to their race result. So I don't know. That I'm not in any way insinuating that George did it in a cynical fashion. We've seen George's true nature last weekend in Silverstone when he went to check on Joe. That is the George Russell that everyone knows. That is his behavior. He does not wipe out people on purpose, even if it was a bit suspect.
It's the villain era.
This is his villain origin story. Actually, no, this is probably Perez's villain origin story. He's going to wipe out Max next, just to lower the deficit of points to him. Favor me now, Red Bull. Favor me. Oh, but then we had like God knows how many lap times deleted for track limits.
Black and white flags.
Plenty of those. Lewis getting RC over the radio because he was totally inside the track limits. I hate to break it to you, mate. The FIA set up a static camera at that corner for the exact purpose of monitoring track limits. If they say you're over, you're over. You could argue it all you like, but you're wrong. All of the evidence points against you. So, plus, there was some great savagery from Max about comments Lewis made, because Lewis made himself look like a tit after the Silverstone Grand Prix, where he said that, it was great going through Copse side by side with another car, totally different to last year. And then Max responded to the comments and said that it's great that at 37 he can still learn to hit an apex. Absolutely brutal. Loved it. Absolutely spot on as well, because if you look at the video side by side, Lewis is about 4.5 foot further right this year than he was last year. So Lewis tried to kill Max, confirmed. Also, that 10-second penalty was definitely not severe enough. Disqualified. So there we have it. We now know. But I mean, with track limits, as much as it got confusing because there wasn't a graphic to sort of keep track of who did and who hadn't got penalties, who had served theirs and who hadn't, because I don't know if you heard it, but on the Sky broadcast where they were discussing whether Lando still had his penalty or not, I mentioned it like 10 laps prior when Lando came in for his pit stop. Oh yeah, he served his penalty now. Sorted.
Yeah.
And then they were like, has he still got his penalty? I don't know. It's like, it was shown on the broadcast. Come on, man. It's not like he's pit behind closed doors and now everyone's like, did he?
Yeah.
No, it was shown. We all saw it. Like, if we saw it, they definitely saw it because they see a lot more than we do. But yeah, so I don't know, like, I think what they have in the game is probably what we need in real life. That little sort of like 5 seconds and the little black and white flag thing. That would just make life. Yeah. But Austria has shown that we do. But I mean, it would be useful even if it's not just for track limits. Drivers get black and white flags for other things. They get time penalties for other things. Just a little penalties column at the side. Or maybe it changes with like where it tells you what tire compound they're on. They have that come up, change it, and it says what penalty they got.
What they could do is, like in the game, they have the little thing on the side, but it disappears. They've served their penalty, so it's like they have the penalty. They may be serving it or not. They've been given this penalty.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy enough thing to do. Like, if they can do it for a bloody computer game, I'm sure a multi-million-dollar sport can organize a graphic.
They changed the graphics this year, so they can just add another little thing.
Yeah. But here we are. I mean, then again, the computer game uses the same graphics, so surely they could just talk to Codemasters and be like, hey, can we borrow that?
Yeah, but then there'd probably be a crap ton of bugs in it. Just say like,
they try and implement it and the entire world feed would just shut down.
Yeah, there already was on the podium.
Oh my God, I saw that. That was brilliant. Not only was it the wrong drivers, but they were with the wrong teams. Has somebody been playing Formula One and that was their transfers? Because if so, that's some fire. Sergio Perez at Ferrari Max Verstappen at Mercedes and Lewis at Red Bull, was it? Something like that?
Yeah.
What? What kind of witchcraft has happened there? Madness. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a simple fix, isn't it? Just, here's a little thing. It just says 5 seconds, black and white flag to indicate that it's a penalty. And then when they come in for a pit stop, oh, look, they've served a penalty. It just disappears. Done. And if they don't serve a pit stop, we know it's there for at the end of the race in the final classification.
On the game, it's still the old graphics, isn't it?
It's what, sorry?
The game is still the old graphics.
No, it's got the new ones.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh. Then, yeah, they can, like I say, if it's still the old graphics, then they might.
No, official game gets official graphics. So it would be a bit crap if it had last year's graphics still. It's like F122, the new era, but old graphics. But yeah, I think that's something that it's a small change, but it's a potentially huge quality of life improvement, because the amount of drivers that were receiving black and white flags and then receiving time penalties and then serving the penalties or not serving the penalties, it just made it a lot more confusing to try and keep track of where people would end up in the order without having that information easily available at the side. So
it helped the commentators as well, because I guess they got so confused.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't take much to confuse old Brumble and Crofty, does it? Yeah. And they've got the race directors feed, so they get like, oh look, lap time deleted, so and so gets 5 seconds, blah blah blah. They get like an actual feed from the race director, telling them everything that's going on.
And it'd probably be easier just to tell, because they're talking about this stuff. So if somebody gets a penalty while a battle's happening,
or maybe they should just hire me to just watch that all race, and then point at them and go, look, he's got a penalty now. Tell the world.
No, you just become a producer for them. You just have penalty.
Go. My best impression of like Spanish commentators. Get a Messi. Go. Oh god. What else is there to discuss from this week?
The only thing is that you'd have to start at the F2 and F3 races. Which,
I'm okay with that.
I mean, you'd have to say it a lot. Your voice would be gone.
True. This weekend's penalties in the lower formula were numerous and didn't stop at the checkered flag.
Well, that's a job for next week.
Huzzah. We love that. We love a support series episode. Because it means that we've done goofed. In this case, it was Chris's fault, so we're just going to blame Chris.
It's always Chris's fault.
Yeah, yes, always. And as per, once he makes a mistake, he's not here to take accountability for it. And he can't even say he's at the Euros, because guess what? I know where they are, and it's in Brighton. So he has no excuse.
To the big old Amex Arena.
Yeah. Shall we cover our predictions? How they went this week. We had mixed results. Ben, we'll start with bold predictions. Ben, you said McLaren top 5. That was close. No coconut though. Chris said that a Ferrari engine would blow up, so I'm now blaming him for the fact that my podium points are not as high as they could have been. Nia, you said both Alpines out of the points.
They're both in the points.
Both scored points this weekend. And I said double McLaren points. So I was quids in there. Lapdown showdown, nobody got. Let's be honest.
We're all so close.
I got the right number of laps down, but technically he DNF'd, so it doesn't really count. For sake of clarity, Perez was the first driver to be lapped. He was lapped on lap 8. and he was 1 lap down when he DNF'd, so that would have been the winning combo. As it was, nobody said that anyone would DNF. So sad noises. Social media for podium predictions. Mason won this week with 4 points for correctly stating that Verstappen would get on pole, Verstappen would win the sprint, and then putting Verstappen and Leclerc on the podium, but in the wrong order. And in a similar sort of vein, Wev scored 3 points, pole, sprint win, and Verstappen on the podium, but they had Perez and Sainz, so no points there. In our little group, Chris came last this week. Big lol. Correctly put Verstappen and Hamilton on the podium, but in the wrong places. Ben and Nia both scored 3 points, and in exactly the same way, Verstappen pole and Verstappen and Leclerc on the podium, but in the wrong places. Sonja scored 4 points for Verstappen pole, sprint win, and for putting Verstappen and Leclerc on the podium, but in the wrong places. And I got 7 points for saying that Verstappen would win the sprint and for correctly stating that Leclerc would win his first race from not pole position and Verstappen in second. So I'm a genius. I got my bold and I got my podium prediction sort of right. I'm claiming big dubs there. So for the standings, that means that Nia is on 26, Chris is on 27, Ben moves down a place into third and is on 32 points. I move up a place and I'm in second place on 35 points. And Sonja's
32nd place.
Yep. That's right. Ricardo P41. That's what it is. I'm in position 41. Moving up, P35 now. Stay tuned for the rebrand.
You've had a nightmare.
It's gone downhill. In a 5-man championship, I've exceeded Nikita Mazepin's calamitous. Oh God! But Sonja's lead at the top has come down. It's now only 2 points. She is on 37 points. So I'm gonna catch it next time out. I'm gonna take the lead in France. This is when France is like, Nicholas Latifi wins, and we're all just like, what? Where's Verstappen?
Didn't turn up.
You know. Crashed out on turn 1. What else is there to talk about? Have we covered it all?
There's some news.
Oh, Seb got a €25,000 fine, suspended for the rest of the year for storming out of the driver's briefing because nothing was happening.
Yeah, and he said it. If nothing does happen, I'm going to walk out.
So he walked out. Fair play. Rate that.
And a man of his word.
Yeah. Sticks to his principles.
IndyCar driver Herta is going to test the McLaren this week at Portimao.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And Bernie's being done for being a fraud.
Bernie just doesn't deserve to be anywhere near this sort of news segment anymore. He's got nothing to do with the sport anymore, and I'm so glad about it, because otherwise we'd still be living in the dark ages. And okay, let's put it this way: if Bernie Ecclestone was still in charge of Formula One teams would not have TikTok accounts. That is all I need to say to win over myself and probably quite a lot of the audience. Specifically Ferrari's TikTok account, because oh my God, they know what they're doing. Thirst traps. What? Nothing. Excellent. So with everything said and done, thank you for listening and or watching along this week. Please like, comment, subscribe, follow, rate 5 stars, everything you can. And next week we will bring you all of the support series action that we have neglected for the last couple of weeks. as well as all of our predictions ahead of the French Grand Prix and any news that may break between now and then. So thank you all and goodbye.